What's up, guys? Another episode of Off the Post. I'm your host, DJ Redcap, and we are doing our finale for the Olympic Series. We can all say that most of us enjoyed the Olympics. If you were just a super homer, you probably hated the Olympics a long time ago. But for the rest of us who continue to watch the games, because we just enjoy football in general, I think it was pretty good Olympics so far. But we'll probably we'll all get to talk about our opinions on what we thought of this tournament a little bit later. Let's go and see what our two panelists are up to or have been up to lately. I think one is drunk, so we'll see which one you can guess. Let's see. Jackie, what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, it has been a pleasure watching the Olympics over the past 2 weeks. It's always a good time.
Thank you. And have you been working or anything this weekend, or just really taking it easy?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, you kind of cut out a bit, DJ.
Oh, okay. That conversation was actually for Jackie, but continue on, Jen. What have you been up to then, Jen? Continue on, Jen.
Just same old stuff. Doing the work, watching the Olympics. Kind of sad it's over as a whole, but glad the soccer's finally over. We can get back to NWSL because I've missed it.
Yeah, same here. Hopefully you've guessed which panelist was the drunk one. So, guys, yes, the NWSL, if you guys didn't know. So if you guys got to check that Houston Spirit game, it was nice to see a little bit of NWSL action, a bit of a refresher, I'd say, to catch that. I know I was pretty happy to watch it. Well, guys, I guess we will get ready to start. Joe, if you have something you want to say to us on this finale, use the hashtag WoSoTalk. But if you'd like to know why cleaning toilets with your tongue is just not that good of a thing to do on your weekends, then please, I'll tell you with the hashtag DJ Redcap. So we're going to jump into the bronze medal game, talking about Brazil versus Canada. We're going to talk about our expectations going into that game. We're going to start with you first, Jackie. I just don't know what's wrong with you at the moment. Jackie, what are your thoughts going into that bronze medal game?
Yeah, I expected Brazil to have better defense, but that wasn't the case. And I also expected the young stars of Canada to really show, and they played really, really well.
Jen, your thoughts going into that game?
Well, after I fight off the wave of nausea that your sick joke brought on, sorry, some things set me off really, really badly, and stuff like that is one of them. What did I think going into this game? Well, I was hoping for Brazil to win because I really, really wanted Formiga to finish her last major tournament with a medal because she's been around for seemingly forever, and I think of any of the players on either side, she probably deserved it the most because of her and then later Marta have been pretty much carrying that team for years and years, so that was kind of a little bit of a disappointment that they didn't win. I also did expect that the lack of energy that we saw from Brazil, considering that they had played two straight 120-minute matches, and Canada had not gone into extra time in either one of those. So, and factoring in travel and other things, it was kind of went how I expected it to go, unfortunately.
No, I agree with you. It kind of did go how I expected it to go. I was pulling for Canada to win this game. Kind of been one of those. It's been one of those teams where I actually enjoyed watching them a bit this tournament, which is kind of weird because sometimes they're to me they're a struggle to watch because I'm just like, they got like little pieces of talent here and there, but they could just never put it together. But it was weird. I guess I wanted Brazil to probably give them a real good match, considering that it's in Brazil. Would have been nice for Marta to win actually in Brazil like that, but I just kind of knew, like you said, it was just so many factors going against Brazil actually taking it that I just saw Canada winning this game and just pulling through and getting that next bronze medal. Preferably would have wanted even Canada in the finals, to be honest with you, but that's a story for another time. But yes, that game went how we expected, but we're not here really to talk about third-place games. We are here to talk about the first-place game, Sweden versus Germany. That was the big game that we were all into. We're going to go into our expectations going into this game. First half, second half review. You guys know how we do it. And then just overall thoughts on the game. So we're going to start with you first, Jen. What were your expectations for today's game?
Well, unlike the Brazil-Canada game, this one played out, I think, differently than all of us were expecting. Sweden in 2 straight games using that bunker and playing for penalties. But when you kind of think about it, I mean, that would have really been a bad move because, except for the men against Brazil in the other gold medal game, Germany are known for being, really clinical with their penalties, and they hadn't gone to penalties yet, while Sweden had 2 straight games of penalties. So, in addition to being really good at them, Germany had a lot of footage of Sweden's potential penalty kick takers, so they would be going in with an advantage. So, I think Pia maybe realized that the only way she was going to get through this one is what she did: go out and play and maybe catch Germany's back line flat and score, which is what they tried to do. Unfortunately, it didn't work until late in the game. But yeah, it wasn't what we expected, considering what had happened. But I think it's something that we should have expected.
Yeah, I agree. I think I actually went in my expectations were, because I picked a 1-0 victory for Sweden, was just that bunker down, park the bus. The whole Swedish bus was just going to be sitting back there waiting for that one opportunity, and then like a late goal in probably the 89th minute or an extra time, something like that. But it was a bit of a change for me. It wasn't exactly how I thought they were going to play, but I guess it was good. I mean, I one of those people where I don't really like that. I like the tactic if you grinds you out victories and wins you something in the end. But if it doesn't win you something, then I prefer attractive football. But that's just me. Some of your expectations going into this game, Jackie?
Yeah, like you guys kind of mentioned, I thought Sweden would sit back a little more. I thought Germany would definitely be on the attack most of the first half and second half. Sweden, they definitely surprised, I think, more than a few with how they came out to play.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, it was one of those things where I think we were all looking at this, like I said, really thinking it was going to be a German bombardment for the most part. Just like I really thought, like Germany go into it probably like get about 35 shots or something, just ridiculous amount. Not seriously, but thought it would look more like that with Sweden getting 3 and winning. So that was my thoughts. Let's talk a little bit about first half, second half, and then we'll all give a little overall of just how we thought it played out. Jen, you want to talk about a little bit first half and second half for me?
Well, my first thought, this is more the whole game, but
Mm-hmm.
we saw how strong Hedvig Lindahl was in goal for Sweden in the knockout rounds. She looked really, really, really subpar. Like, I don't know if it was the nerves of actually being in the final. I don't know if she just wasn't on her game, but she did not look like the confident keeper that had kept them in the 2 previous games until they could get a result. So that was that was a bit of a warning shot for, I think, for Sweden right away. That they couldn't just sit back and hope that Lindahl would bail them out. They had to go out and play, or they were going to be in trouble. So that was one of the first things. And yeah, I think I think on balance, them going into the half scoreless was probably fair because each team had some good opportunities that they wasted. I'm looking at you, Anya Mittag, and that miss from about 3 yards away. Come on. I mean, I expect to see that from like a Lynn Williams, but not from a player who's, I think, played the most. I think has the most caps on the German squad. Has scored a ton of goals in international play before. That's not something you expect. So that was a pretty shocking miss. And I mean, this was more the second half, but we've all been talking all tournament. Where is Marjan? When is she going to show up? What's she doing? She's basically taking up space. And boy, did she finally show up in this one! And what a time for Germany to need it. She wasn't just there to make up the numbers. She was basically pulling all the strings for Germany. by far her best game of the tournament. Very impressed with her. German fullbacks, they looked good. I think they maybe got caught a couple of times up that gave Sweden the opportunities. Kind of like we saw with another team in this tournament that shall remain nameless, but yeah, they didn't get punished for it until after Germany had built their lead. But yeah, Sweden had their chances, Germany had their chances, so probably a draw in the first half was a fair result.
Sounds good. Jackie, you want to give a bit of thoughts on your on the second half? What happened with the game?
I think I don't know. The second half was strange because Germany, like you said in the first half, had played so well. They had all the momentum. Sweden, they hung on. I think they made a few key substitutions like they had in previous games.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the goals started coming. Germany scored 2 in the first 60 minutes of the second half. I mean, I don't know. It was, and then that own goal by Sweden, of course, you know. that was tough to watch. But they played a bit more open, I thought, in the second half. And I think the second half was one of the best halves I've seen for either team, really, in the tournament.
Right on. And Jen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that goal by Marjan was beautiful. She could not have hit that any more perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
It was just an absolute rope, and no fault of Lindahl on that one. I don't think any keeper would have saved that. So that was a really good one. And yeah, poor Linda Sembrand. It's just so unfortunate that she was just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time, and for that to be the game-winning goal, I think has to be especially tough for her. But yeah, and I mean, credit to Sweden. They started to fight back after giving up that second goal, and they managed to pull one back. It just wasn't enough for them to take it, but they thought, okay, if we're going to go down, at least we'll go down fighting. And yeah, they got a goal back. Blackstenius was on the end, but really good run to set that goal up. So probably, I think, based on the second half, Germany maybe deserved it, but Sweden didn't roll over and die like they did in the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very entertaining half for me.
And let's go to you, Jackie. Just give a little bit of your overall thoughts on it. You enjoy it? Did it play out like you wanted it to, or just blah, blah, blah?
For that game or for the whole tournament?
Just for that game. We'll jump to the tournament in a second right now.
Overall, I mean, I think it was pretty competitive. I was surprised at some of the way it turned out. Some of the players, how they played. I thought Lada was not irrelevant, but I thought she'd have a better game. I thought Germany's midfield was very impressive throughout the whole game. Really stepped up their play, and happy for Sylvia to go out on top.
Right. I think, like you said, I just want to step back to what she said about Marjan, because I've been waiting for her all tournament. It's just one of those top players that I enjoy watching. That was one of those shots that it doesn't matter, like, man or woman who hit it. That was an amazing goal, like you said, absolutely. And like you said, where's she been the whole tournament? And then she showed up the biggest game. She pulled a Carly Lloyd and, just strings along. And you're always like, come on, Carly, come through. And then at the end, just shows up. So absolutely amazing. I enjoyed the game. Enjoyed this thus far. We're going to jump to tournament stuff now. We're going to talk about, just do a quick review of the tournament. We're going to start with players who stood out to us this tournament. If I have to go first, I have to say Janine Becky. So player I didn't expect to have, everyone was really high on her in the tournament. She missed some key shots, so I won't lie, in that game against Germany that could have really put over. But overall, I thought she had a pretty decent and solid tournament, and I really can't wait to look forward to her down in the future with Canada and just her club future. So who do you got, Jen?
Well, I'm going to go to Sweden. Think the one most people would point to is either Lindahl or Blackstenius.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of had my eye on Blackstenius from some youth tournaments she had played, which she had done really well. I think it was a U19, U21 tournament where she helped Sweden win the title. I think it might have been U19. So that's when she first caught my eye, and I think overall she had a really good tournament. A couple of clutch goals, the one against the U.S., the one in the final against Germany, even though it wasn't enough for them to win. And then you got to tip your hat off to Hedvig Lindahl. I mean, 40 years ago, if you'd see her play, you'd be like, this keeper has no future. Sweden ought to look for a new number one because she would give up the dumbest goals, getting caught so easily off her line. But ever since then, I mean, she has gotten so much better, and she really did look like one of the best keepers in this tournament, along with Lydia Williams, who's another player that stood out. She had some games, especially in the quarterfinal, where she made some really killer saves to keep Australia in that game. So those are probably the three that you haven't mentioned that would stand out for me.
Sounds good. What player or players stood out to you, Jackie?
Yeah, real quick, I would also echo Becky Williams and, like you said, Lindahl. I think she played phenomenal. I think she was the best keeper in the tournament. And then a few other players, Melanie Berringer from Germany. I think she really had a fantastic tournament. A bit unexpected, I think. And then Ashley Lawrence from Canada. Beside a few questionable tackles, I think she was pretty good for Canada, along with Zadorsky on defense. So Canada, they have a lot of young, like I said earlier, talent. And they've done a great job bringing in their youth to play in those big-time games. So.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think I became more of a fan of Hertman the more I watched this tournament. It's weird because I used to hate his guts, but I'm like actually kind of rooting for Canada a bit more now. So, yeah, I can't wait to watch them a lot more as they grow and develop. So we're going to do team who did better than expected. For me, once again, this was Canada, actually, because I think a lot of people couldn't even see them medaling and probably had a lot of the other bigger teams. Like they probably had the USA in the finals versus maybe a Germany or someone, Brazil versus maybe a France or something, or even if people had a Sweden. And then for me, it was just like the fact that Canada was able to medal was, to me, it was absolutely amazing. They outperformed my expectations. And they looked good early on in the tournament too. Might have faltered a bit in that in that Germany game, I guess, but they still had good chances in that game. So it was Canada for me. Jen, who do you got?
Gonna have to go Sweden. You're watching them at the World Cup last year. They really underperformed. Didn't win a game that tournament. Only won this tournament, but at least they got to the final this time.
Yeah.
Stupid rule that lets third place teams go, but that's a rant for another day. But yeah, they didn't play outstanding in this tournament. There were teams that certainly played better, but they got to the final, and those teams were sitting at home and watching that final. So you got to give your hat to them. No matter how they got there, no matter how ugly you might think their style is, they got there, and other more favorite teams didn't. So hats off to them.
Right on. I can agree with that. Jackie, who you got?
Yeah, I actually had Canada and Sweden as well, and also Germany, because based on their defense from the World Cup, Sweden and Germany, I didn't think they would go very far in the Olympics, but they proved me wrong. And all three teams played really well. They played, really team ball, which is really important. I think some teams lack that, especially in the final third. So, yeah, Germany, Sweden, and Canada, hats off to them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those are all good three choices. Like I said, they played a lot of, like I said, good team play, just interconnecting and just like linking up very well with each other in the final third. And you need that. It takes that to win in any type of football match. So, team who disappointed. Everyone's gonna, it's the USA. Nah, I'm gonna go with Brazil. I mean, you wanted them, or their fans wanted them to win something on their home soil. They had the home field advantage. Most people probably had them picking up some type of medal. Some people might even have them in the finals because the home field advantage was going to push them. To pick up nothing, I guess it's kind of like a disappointment. Well, it would be a disappointment to watch your team pick up nothing on their home field. So I'm going to go with Brazil. Who do you got, Jen?
I'm going to go Australia.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think a lot of people were expecting them to at least get to the semifinals because they look like a really up-and-coming team, especially doing so well at the World Cup. Thought this might be the tournament where they would get over the hump, and it's just once that quarterfinal, it's just a wall that they just can't seem to break through. And I mean, they certainly, had their chances. And I think the only game they won is against Zimbabwe. They lost to Canada despite being up a player for uh, almost the entire game. They let Germany come back and draw them. They had the win over Zimbabwe, but let's be honest, Zimbabwe's not really much of a threat to anyone except for poor Simone Lauder's ankle. Oh, man. At least she's going to get a medal for being on the squad. So, that's has to be some small consolation. But, yeah, it's just, once again, they hit that mark and they just can't get past it. And poor Alana Kennedy, man, she had to be so devastated after having that penalty saved. I mean, and after getting that far and then being the one whose penalty got saved to send them out. So hopefully she can rebound and have a good rest of the season. So that was kind of my team that was.
Quick thought on that, actually, with Australia. It's funny because to me they underperformed so badly. I forgot about them, to be honest with you. That's why when you said it, I was like, wow, I forgot they were even in the tournament, even though when they first ran out, I was like, oh, this is going to be their year to push on and stuff. But you're right. They had such a bad year that I forgot all about them. Jackie, who do you got?
Okay, so for me, I was disappointed in the United States, New Zealand, and France, but I was heartbroken by Brazil and Australia. I had high hopes for the U.S., obviously, but I thought France, I think Brazil especially, would maybe go, well, especially France, honestly, to go at least into the semifinals and get a medal. But France, once again, they couldn't get past. I'm not sure if it was a mentality thing or just not having a final instinct. I don't know, but I really thought France would medal. Same with Brazil and Australia, but yeah, I think I was more heartbroken about Brazil and Australia than being disappointed.
No, that's a good team to pick, actually, because I think people expect them to be in that final four with teams where, like, someone's going to get a medal. So, yeah, that's actually a real good pick, too. I was just, I don't know, watching them, something about them, I just kind of felt, they ended where they should have, so it didn't feel like a disappointment to me, but it is actually a disappointment when you're a team of that, of that power. So now we're going to just talk about overall thoughts on the tournament. We'll start with you first, Jackie.
Yeah, well, obviously not the tournament I expected or wanted as far as winning medals, but I do want to say I'm happy for Brazil, the women's team, because I think their country embraced them a little bit, and I'm happy that they got that in their host country, and I hope their federation can continue to support them as they try and get better. But and as far as playing wise, I think it was a good testament of that. The rest of the world is very, very good.
That's very true. Jen, your thoughts?
Well, I wanted to say a quick thing before I get to my thoughts on the overall tournament. And regarding a player who I think a lot of us love and respect very much, but I'm going to criticize here. I think if it had been a U.S. player that had the type of tournament that Christine Sinclair had, the media would be ripping them apart for how subpar they were, how poorly they performed, and so on. I think Sinclair had a subpar tournament, and people are going to look past that because A, she's Sinclair, and B, she scored a couple of goals. If this was, I mean, and where was she in the semifinal? She didn't do much she didn't do much in the knockout rounds at all. She was pretty much like we criticized Morrow, taking up space. And if that had been someone like a Carly Lloyd or an Alex Morgan or anybody else, the media would be ripping them to shreds about how much they sucked. So I kind of wanted to just say, just because she's Sinclair doesn't mean you can't overlook the fact that she wasn't the Sinclair certainly that we saw in London that was pretty much tearing it up and carrying that team on her back. She was subpar, look past the name and judge her performance like you would a player from the U.S. or any other country. So that was just kind of a quick thought. In terms of the tournament overall, I mean, yeah, it was disappointing that, the U.S. had their worst finish ever. It's disappointing that I think the quality of play overall was maybe a bit of a step down from the World Cup. Tactically, I think it did kind of, maybe you could maybe say it took a step back with teams like Sweden that are supposedly top 10 teams resorting to the bunker and counter that we usually see from the lower ranked teams. That we usually see them go to. So that, for me, I mean, you might say it's smart tactically, but it was kind of a disappointment. And I'd say that regardless of if they won or, if it was any other team. I'm not just calling out Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the fact that, like Portugal in the men's Euros, the fact that they are a third place team and they got to the final, kind of shows the flaw in having a number of teams set to where you need third place teams to go. So I don't think it's going to happen, but hopefully for Tokyo, they bump up the number of teams to 16 so we can just have first and second go through and no second chances for a third place team.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hopeful for that. I'm hopeful that tactics and player skills continue to evolve over the next couple of years so that by the time we get to the 2019 World Cup, hopefully the U.S. qualifies. Nothing's guaranteed, even though CONCACAF is pretty crappy. We see them go up against teams that aren't just going to bunker and counter, that are actually going to have more advanced strategy, better level of play. So, kind of a disappointing tournament, but hopefully it can improve in the future.
No, I can see all your points. Yeah, I can agree with a lot of them. For me, like I said, it was one of those tournaments where it's like I enjoy it just because it was football, but it's the type of thing where I think there was a lot of parts of it I didn't enjoy. I find more things that are like I've got to find out a little bit more about certain players, watch certain teams a lot more. Like sometimes I don't get to see a lot of Canada games, so that's why I became a fan of theirs this tournament. I can say definitely that helped me a lot with them, seeing their team a bit more. Just like seeing teams like Sweden, like you said, do that kind of like the park the bus and just kind of like counterattack. It was kind of weird seeing that. Hopefully, I'm too for more teams to be in it. There's a lot of other teams that I would have liked to be in it. There are teams that I think during the World Cup I started to enjoy watching, like the Dutch and stuff. That it would have been sweet if they were in this tournament. There were some teams that I definitely felt like I was missing out on. So hopefully,
England.
like you said, make it work.
I'm sorry,
especially
GB.
England.
Which if the Federation had gotten their act together, Sweden would not have been at the Olympics to begin with. Because remember, they only got in by winning a playoff because England wasn't there as GB because they couldn't get their crap in order. So just pointing that out.
Yeah. No, and that was funny. I was thinking about that GB2 or whatever. Because I was like, wait a minute, it wouldn't be England. It would be like England featuring Kim Little or something. I was like, so would I like this team or no? But yeah, you're right, GB. But still, just more teams. Get your stuff figured out, whatever, with that funny little thing. But and then just like you said, I want first, second place teams. I really don't like tournaments where a lot of third place teams can squeak in. Sometimes it kind of waters down the field a bit for me because then you're like, that team didn't even win a game and they're into the finals. So those are my thoughts. Overall, like I said, I enjoy football, so I enjoyed the tournament, so I'm not going to complain too much. But that's it, guys, for our episode. You girls are all good and set on everything you had to say?
Yeah, I do have one final rant. Sorry I'm being all ranty today, but I haven't been on for a while, so I've been saving this up. I have seen some really unflattering comments directed towards the referee of the final, Chenard, that were, well, for lack of a better term, they were basically calling her too fat to be a referee. And I just want to say, I'm not a big fan of Chenard as a referee. I think she's had some really bad games. But she did a really good job in that final. There weren't any calls like, what the hell is she on to call that?
Yeah.
I think she kept the play under control. And I don't know if people know this, but referees have to pass a very strict physical standard to
Mm-hmm.
participate in a major tournament. If they're like one, they have to run a certain time at a certain distance. If they are even 0.01 seconds over that time, they're not allowed to participate. End of story. Doesn't matter how good they are, they have to be fit enough. The fact that she
Mm-hmm.
was even in Rio in the first place says that she met that standard. And just because she might be, look like a big girl, it doesn't give you people on the internet the right to criticize her weight or say, oh, she's too big, get her off the field, whatever. Just stop it. If you won't say it to their face, don't say it online. Sorry.
I say it to anybody's face. I dare you mess with me. But anyway, guys, that was another episode of Off the Post. So, by the way, yeah, as you know, we already have our scarf winner, Stephanie Husaya. I mess up her name. She knows she's getting her scarf. We'll look down the road towards the end of the NWSL season to probably do another contest, so be on the lookout for that. We're taking a week break off because we're on this Olympic soccer. Jeez, goodness, I need a break. So we'll take a break off, clear minds, and then we're going to jump back into it probably that next Monday or Tuesday. It depends. Our schedule's going to have a lot of special guests, so it'll still be the same time, but it'll just maybe the day will be either Monday or Tuesday, depending on when the guests can come on, and we'll start talking some NWSL action. So hopefully you all enjoyed the Olympics. I know I kind of did. And go Canada, right? Is that what we're saying?
No,
It's
boo.
time to wave and escape. Everyone start waving. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.